this afternoon. Like Sagar, I've taken a little bit of an interesting path to get where we are today. My background is computer engineering. I'm in the software option, so this is a little bit of a different path. Sagar took the Eng Phys and then has focused in on computing through that. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about before university, why I came into engineering at UBC. Then I'm going to get into the more exciting stuff, which is essentially my co-ops, a program called New Venture Design, which is a course that I'm taking alongside Sagar. Hopefully give you a little bit of advice and some hard-earned wisdom, and then open up for any questions. And if you have any questions along the way, just get ready. I would love to answer a lot of it. It's one thing that in my time I'm coming to realize as it's getting closer and closer to graduation, that there are so many resources that you won't always have. And so ask questions. I'm sort of a belief there's no dumb question. And that's how you learn. So, pre-university, I grew up in the Okanagan. I was actually born in Langley and graduated from Mount Boucher in 2009. When I came out of high school, I was not planning on going into engineering. It's just not on my radar at all. What I was actually thinking is, hey, I'm going to graduate and I really like flying. I was going to become a commercial helicopter pilot, and that was sort of my plan. So I graduated. I tried to make sure that I had things set up for myself. I was planning on working in the construction industry. It pays pretty well, and that would be enough to allow me to pay for flight school. Can anyone tell me what really big event happened right around 2008, 2009?
In the stock market, there was a recession.
Exactly. So with the recession, essentially what happened was a lot of spending stopped. And one thing is in the construction and real estate industry, they're hit really hard, which meant people stopped spending, and people stopped building, which meant there wasn't work anymore. Which really is just, this is a fact of life. Things are going to happen, and you've got to be ready for it and adapt to it. So I worked at a bunch of different places, IT company, a sawmill, construction. I worked at Costco for a while, and volunteer fire rescue. These were amazing experiences, and absolutely get out and try things. I'm a big believer that that's the way to figure out what you like. If you don't try things, you're not going to know, do I actually love sitting in front of a computer for 8-9 hours a day coding away? It's not for everyone. And if I hadn't tried these things, I wouldn't have learned some very valuable lessons, like working in a sawmill in 40-degree weather is not fun. And then, of course, everything else, lots of outdoors, and, just your normal social life. A lot of choices. And this is what I was talking about in terms of what am I going to do? When I realized that construction wasn't going to pay the $70,000 to $80,000 for a commercial pilot's license, that was all of a sudden a very big, what am I going to do? And for me, I thought about it, and I was always good at working with computers and technology, and so I started looking into it more as a more serious option. There are a lot of programs out there. BCIT offers a variety of much more focused industry programs, more of your diploma 2-year programs, which are absolutely fantastic. And you can go into a code core boot camp type thing, the 6-month, really just get you into it, try things out. But sort of, humming and hawing, doing things exactly like this and exploring and talking to people, I found out that engineering was, it sounded like my bag, and I'm really happy I did. And this is not the way to do it, but in some ways signed up very whimsically of I'll see if I get in. And because when I graduated, I was thinking, it's good to have a backup in life. So I made sure that in high school I took all the prereqs for university, made sure I did all of my tests, made sure I actually wrote all my credentials that I needed to, which is something that I absolutely wouldn't have needed to. And I think this really can go back to what Sagar was saying about not just doing the easy thing, it would have been really easy for me, like, oh, I don't need to take any courses, just blow it all off, graduate, because I didn't think I needed it. And I had a friend who did that, and he ended up having to go back to college to do upgrade courses before he could go to university, which it was a bummer for him because he was so passionate about what he wanted to do. He wanted to get started right away. He didn't want to wait to have to do these couple courses of content that he could have covered in high school, and a really smart person, so it's, it wasn't a struggle, but it was a disappointment for himself because he realized what this would mean and that this was going to delay him following his dreams. So having a backup paid off. Why engineering? So I talked about it a little bit, but I think we all agree that it's that one right there. But there's a lot of really nice things about engineering. There's a lot of work, especially in the computer and software field. I don't think this is going to be a generation where there's really a shortage of jobs. To help put it in perspective, this coming year, Amazon, Microsoft, and Sony ImageWorks are moving offices to Vancouver. So that's going to be about 1,200 jobs, which is enormous. 1,200 very high-tech jobs opening up, which means for you as prospective employees, that's a great thing. Like having lots of people who need work means they will absolutely do what it takes to get you on board. Which means for you, you can make a ton of money, you can get really flexible schedules that work with your life, and work for really cool companies. You have a lot more choice. There's a lot of other things that I can say that really also apply generally to engineering. Sagar already mentioned it, so I won't go into it too much, but engineers tend to do well because most of our degree is teaching us how to think critically. And despite not necessarily feeling it at the time during courses, you'll eventually come to realize that even a course I took in first year about electrostatics is useful. I mean, I hated it, and I hated the multivariable calculus to figure it out, because I wasn't very good at calculus, but that simple process of trying to comprehend a concept you have no capacity for, that is what engineers are so great at. And through discussions, giving feedback as well with people at the school, we had this discussion about, like, well, why can't we get more focused training? Because I went to one of my co-ops, and the guys from BCIT with a 6-month program were kicking my butt. Like, it was almost shameful. And it's because they really focused on vocational skills. These are the skills that will help you directly do a particular job. Whereas university teaches you how to think critically and apply things and come up with new solutions. And that's absolutely what it was. And so with an engineering degree, I know a gentleman who is at one of my companies. He is EngPhys. EngPhys, for those who don't know, is considered at UBC probably one of the hardest programs or harder programs. They take basically a normal engineering degree and mash it together with a physics degree, and they don't really drop out any courses. This gentleman who I work with graduated with a degree in EngPhys and didn't work as an engineering physics engineer a day in his life. He went to law school because what they realized is you can teach law to an engineer, but you can't teach a lawyer everything about engineering. And there's a lot of fields I've heard that about where you have just such a capacity for learning, and it's a tough program, I'm not going to lie. You will work hard, and you'll want to quit at times, but those skills that you gain along the way are what makes you so able to just adapt and do whatever you want. I'm not going to touch on this for too much, but ask me questions if you guys are curious. The real point I want to make with this slide is don't let money stand in your way. For me, that's what stood in my way for becoming a pilot. I don't regret going into engineering, but it's something where I had to make sure that I worked enough to pay for my degree every year. And there are options out there, and the especially awesome one is student loans with loan forgiveness. And that's when the government says, you know what, that's okay, you keep it. So kind of like a scholarship or bursary. But there's lots of options out there, and UBC's got programs for financing, the government's got programs to help you, like you can get there. So takeaway, don't let money stop you. So what's really interesting about my experience has been my co-ops and extracurriculars. Especially after doing my first couple co-ops, I'd come back to school and it almost start to be boring. It's like, oh, I already did this at work. And I got paid too, and then Xboxes in the lounge, and we went out every Friday. So, you know. Who's familiar with Plenty of Fish? No one? Alright, so Plenty of Fish is a dating company.
Oh, they recently got fined.
They did. They did get into a little bit of legal trouble.
It's okay, actually.
So Plenty of Fish. When I got this co-op, I didn't know what to think. I was like, okay, whatever, it's a dating site, you know. Boy, was I in for a surprise. Working at Plenty of Fish, I worked with brilliant people, absolutely brilliant. The technology was unbelievable. We talked about stuff people were doing. When I was working there, the company was going out and snagging researchers from, say, the BC Cancer Institute and people who were top of the class in their field, because when you're trying to match people, you're computing a lot of data and you're doing really, really advanced mathematics to try and quantify what is someone's personality and what will they like. So going into it, you can find a lot of really cool stuff. I didn't know that when I got a job at a dating site, I was going to meet a PhD in string theory, who's their lead algorithm person, because it's about numbers and being really good at it. So like, surprise, and just awesome company to work for. They took care of us, so you know, that's great too. But that's where you really get out and you bring it all together. You take all of your classwork, all of those assignments that you stayed up super late for, the things that you hated, and you make it matter. I built an Android application for one of their websites, and compared to all of my other friends, most of their first jobs, they were going out and they were doing some manual testing or stuck in a dungeon somewhere at companies. At the end of my co-op, I pushed an application out to 800,000 users. It's something that I know people today who haven't been able to do that. So to give you an idea of what you can get out there and do, and really the value this can add to your education, I would highly recommend it. At the very least, starting the co-op program. My best helper is my most recent one. Like Sagar said, there's all sorts of different ways to get places. For me, going into this company was really interesting because it's a small startup in Vancouver. What we do is essentially help match caretakers with families. What gets really cool is working at a small company, you get to do everything. One day I was writing software for the back-end servers. The next day I was managing all the deployment and how we automate things and keep everything running so the site doesn't go down. And the next day I'm talking to customers, figuring out what to do with our website to make it better. It's a really unique opportunity where so many people say you get to wear many hats, and it's whoever's free at the moment, and you get to try so much. So highly recommend getting work experience while you're doing your degree. The other amazing thing about this is I have standing job offers from these people when I graduate. Co-op is how a lot of companies basically do their hiring. For you to be able to graduate and say, yeah, I've got a job waiting for me, is great. Then you get to go out and you get to choose the absolute coolest companies out there to interview for. And if none of it works out, you still have really awesome companies you can go to. And that's a freedom that not a lot of people might get. New venture design. How are we doing for time? Okay, cool. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, so if I can find my notes on here, I'll watch a little video.
Hi, we're Maximal Technologies, and we're here to solve the drone safety problem. Flying robots are now a reality. We know them as drones. There are over 30,000 sold every single month. These account, however, for over 80,000 accidents every single year. This results in a $40 million loss in drone equipment alone for consumers. This is a massive, massive public safety issue. The solution is Guardian. Guardian is a hardware platform that increases public safety and provides analytics for users. Guardian works to actively prevent crashes and flyways, thereby increasing public safety and peace of mind. Guardian is very easy to install and works with most drone models that are on the market today. The drone accident rate is very high, but with Guardian, we can save both the industry and the public at large.
So that's our little promo for our project in a course called New Venture Design. New Venture Design is really, really awesome. It's a course that's multidisciplinary. You pair up engineers and business students. You basically say, you've got a year to go create a startup. So do it. And that's the course. We tried a bunch of different ideas. We get to go out, we get to figure out where's a need, where's a pain point. Like, what do you do in your day-to-day that you wish you could do better, or there was an app for, or whatever. We tried a bunch of different things, and we decided, hey, drones are pretty friggin' sweet. So we built one. And now we're building a device to make them safer. Through the university, we got funding to help us with development, and this will be around after, so you can take a look. This is a hexacopter, 6-rotor aerial vehicle. This project, we had no clue about drones when we got started. We learned it. This is what engineers do. I have a mechanical and a materials engineer on my team. Both of them are writing software. Engineering to go learn the thing, like Sagar said, it's about those critical thinking skills, those problem-solving abilities, and applying that to whatever you want to do. And for us right now, is working with UNIVs. A little bit of advice. Do what you love. For me, computer engineering and working with computers, I always loved it. I've got stories of getting into trouble with the computer, messing around at school, making all sorts of programs and everything. It was something that I started in middle school and haven't given up since. My parents tell me that they caught me when I was about 3 years old taking apart a toy car and trying to put it back together. And apart from a couple tie rods, I did it. So there's a good old comic called The Knack, worth looking up by Dilbert. Engineering, to me, it's about doing really cool stuff. The nice things are you get to earn good money, have fun, and I like working hard and being able to see the results of it at the end of the day. Be able to work on this for a couple months and be, oh, we created something that flies around, and now we're going to create a system that makes that safer, because we think the next 5-10 years, that's going to be a really big part of your day-to-day life in Canada and the US. Maybe not at a consumer level, but for businesses. It's starting to become more and more important. So we get to go out there and we say, hey, what do we think is going to happen? We get to apply all of our knowledge, we get some funding to do it, and really it's just following our dreams. Before we get into questions, I'm coming up to graduation now. For me, it's time to decide what I want to do. I've gone out, I've done all sorts of things. I've interviewed, I've gone and talked to a lot of the big companies. You realize it's a small world too. I was interviewing at Microsoft, and I happened to be talking to them about some of their very large industrial work. And I said, yeah, I was working at POF. And they're like, oh yeah, we know the guys at POF. This little dating site in Vancouver that has machines with 2 terabytes of RAM and is known by the Microsoft kernel engineers, because when we have a problem as a client like that, you go and talk to the people who wrote the software. It's really cool to see, and like the technology that people are working on, self-driving cars, people are working on all sorts of stuff with drones. Everything's becoming easier with your smartphone. You can have anything delivered, Amazon Prime next day. We really live an exciting time. Biomedically, we had someone print off a kidney at TED last year, if I'm not mistaken. Just to think about what that means, they printed a kidney. Like, this is the stuff of sci-fi. This is what Star Trek was talking about all those years ago. And engineering and computer engineering and software engineering it's how you make it happen. It's the glue that pulls it together. So, are there any questions? Come on. Yeah. So, that's an excellent question.
What was the question?
How does this create lift? Who else can tell me what's wrong with this?
It's missing the color.
Absolutely. So, it's a reasonable and excellent question.